All right, hi again, everybody, and welcome to Around the Town with Chuck. My name is Chuck Guglielmo, and we are here at the Conneaut High School, and we were going to have three athletic administrators slash directors on the show today, but Edgewood's Steve Cray and Jefferson's Greg Jahola had other commitments that came up at the last minute, so we do have the homeschool athletic administrator with us, Tony Pasanen. Tony, thanks for coming on the show.
No, thanks. I know Steve and Greg, we've been looking forward to doing this because, we've been talking about it, but that's the life of an AD in the spring. It's just nonstop things popping up. And I know with Greg, he had to cover for a coach. Steve's dealing with facility issues, so it's always something in the spring.
Mm-hmm. You're just about ready to complete your second year here as athletic director. How would you say the second year has been versus the first year?
It's definitely been a little easier, I think, because just going through, everything, you kind of know what to expect. But there's still always things that pop up that are new. But yeah, it's definitely been smoother for me because a lot of the groundwork was laid last year, so it's made it easier.
Mm-hmm. Now, prior to being an athletic administrator, I know you've taught at the middle school, and I believe you even taught here at the high school. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Give some of our viewers, because we get new viewers now that we're on a new platform, YouTube, what you taught at those schools.
So I started here at the high school. So for my first 8 years, I taught pre-algebra, and then I went down to the middle school. I taught 6th grade for a year, 7th grade for a year, 8th grade for 2 years. Then I went back to 6th grade for a year. Then I think back to 8th grade for a couple more years. And then I came back up to the high school. So it's been a lot of bouncing around. A lot of it was my degree is 4th through 9th grade. And I could teach math and social studies. So, just with juggling of schedules, it was a lot easier to kind of move me into different positions than it was other people.
Do you miss any of that?
I do. It was, I was ready to make a change, at the point, because it was 22 years of teaching at that point. But I do, it was a lot of fun, just having, that set schedule and with those kids. Yesterday was kind of a neat, we saw that Rylan Davison signed with Calgary. I had Rylan in 6th grade, and in 6th grade, every single day, I still remember this day, he showed up wearing a different NFL jersey. Most of them were the Bills and Dolphins at the time, but you could just tell, even at that age. And then eventually coaching him at the high school level and now seeing where he's at, I think that's what really makes it special, is those bonds that you build with the kids. You still develop those bonds as the athletic director, but you're not with them as much as you are as a teacher or a coach. Mm-hmm. So I think that was the part that was the most special for me.
Yeah, I know you are, and I think all of Conneaut is so happy for Rylan Davison. That was his dream, and boy, did he make it work.
Oh, he made it work. And we still laugh and even joke with him. I mean, even as a freshman, he wasn't the fastest, wasn't the strongest, and he just put in so much work throughout his high school career and then after high school career. I remember my son one day looking at TikTok, and he said, "Dad, there's this famous guy who does all these speed trainings on the bluffs." And he showed me the video, and here it was Rylan. And I said, "No,
he's just an amazing guy. I mean, the work that he puts in, like you see him at the track field when he's here in town at 6 o'clock in the morning working out with another good one, Wyatt Payne."
Yeah, and those are great examples for our kids to follow. That, it's not, you don't have to be the most physically gifted. It's all about how much time and effort you're willing to put in.
Exactly.
And those guys, especially Rylan, made himself into what he is now.
And speaking of that, and I see that increasing here with the weight room now. It seems like every kid we talk to is lifting weights, even girls.
Yeah, and that's the key. Is it's been a culture shift, and a lot of that has started with because our board and our superintendent Lori allowed us to hire a strength and conditioning coach, and Denny has taken that over, and it starts at a young age. So he, I know the last 2 years he's had younger kids in there, and what happens is they go in there as, third, fourth, fifth graders. It's not like they're squatting and benching 1,000,000 pounds. I mean, a lot of it at that age is just body weight. Denny's real good with coming up with plans for that, but he makes it fun. So then they look forward to coming there, and so it's not like it's a chore to go into the weight room. Like, these kids want to go in there, and it becomes part of the culture. And you see it. I mean, I see it. You just mentioned it. I see it with our athletes. It's really paying off.
Yeah, and we got a first-hand look. Denny had us come in and do a 7th and 8th grade period in the weight room, so we saw how it all works and how engaged they really are, and they want to be there.
Yeah, well, and that's
see that they want
and
to
a
be
lot of
there.
that is to Denny's credit. I mean, it's like I said, he makes it fun. He makes it challenging, but it's also fun, and they want to be there and they want to push themselves.
Yeah, he does a great job with that. How involved would you say, as an athletic administrator, you get with the teams? All the teams.
Yeah, I mean, I try to go to as many sporting events as I possibly can. Spring is tough because we have so many different sporting events at the middle school and high school level going on, and with all the schedule changes and the different times that they play. But I try to, for me, that's still the most fun part of this job, is interacting with the kids and being around them. So I still definitely make my rounds, and I'm around them quite a bit. I guess it's kind of more fun at this. I describe it as I'm like a grandparent. The coaches or the parents, they have to deal with all the the nonsense. I get to come in and joke around, have fun with them. I mean, obviously there's some times where I have to get involved in discipline, but overall our kids are great here in Conneaut, and so I get to really interact and have a good time with them.
Mm-hmm. And the sports that we cover, you're at just about 95 to 100% of those basketball games and football games, so we know you get around. Speaking of basketball and volleyball, those are the only, and wrestling, the sports that are held in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to crowd control, over the last few years, we've seen it all over the place. That adult behavior is a little bit worse than children behavior.
You hit the nail on the head.
Student behavior.
You are 100% correct.
Never used to be that way.
No, I mean, it is. Yeah, very rarely do I have to deal with a kid at a sporting event. I mean, our stage crew, the crowd has, the attendance has grown. I mean, we still want it bigger, but there's more kids there. Every once in a while, you'll have a kid be a kid and do something they're not supposed to. But it's the parents. I mean, and not so much our parents. I mean, I really.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
By and large, our parents, the adults from the Conneaut side, are extremely supportive, extremely positive of our kids. But I've really noticed it with, other schools, and you don't want to lump everybody into that category but the problem is it's that 2 to 3% that, they ruin it for everybody.
Yeah. Now, if the officials were to come to you and say they want somebody thrown out of the gym, you have to do so, right?
Yes.
They would come to you.
Yeah. So that's usually how it works. I mean, they're not that quick to just throw somebody out. It has to be
Bad.
Yeah. And usually they're warning that person ahead of time. So before it even gets to me or another administrator, they have already warned them, told them to cool it, to knock it off. So it has to be somebody who's just continually going or really going overboard.
It has to be hard to imagine that an adult would behave like that, but they do.
It is, and that's it's one of the reasons why we have such a shortage of officials. I mean, the average age for officials anymore is in the late 50s. So, I mean, and younger people don't want to get involved in it because they don't want to have to deal with the headaches. Mm-hmm. So there could be real issues over the next 10 years of being able to have high school sporting events, because if we're not getting newer blood into that profession.
That's where newly Hall of Famer Becky Olmstead, you got to give her a lot of credit.
Becky's
33 years, and
Yeah.
she still loves the game.
Yeah, and she's, you can just tell she's a pro. I mean,
Yeah.
the way she handles.
And she's well respected.
Oh yeah.
By the
yeah.
players and the coaches, I think.
Yeah.
No matter where she goes. Let's talk a little bit about, I'll be jumping all over the place.
Yep.
Rescheduling of games. Now, usually the springtime is the worst time, but basketball season and wrestling season was kind of hectic this year as well. More so than the spring?
No.
This year?
No.
Still spring has been.
Spring is the worst.
Okay.
You know,
Because it looked like it was kind of close to me because there was a lot of basketball.
It started, I mean, there was some in basketball season, but spring, like I said, the winter you don't have that many sports. You know, it's basically your basketball and wrestling. You know, you have swimming, but that's usually on the weekends only. So because it's only just a couple of sports, it's not as bad. You know, in the spring we're dealing with tennis, softball, baseball, track, flag football. I mean, there's just so many sports. So at the middle school and high school level now. So it's constant, you know, trying to reshuffle. And you're, during the day in the spring is hectic because, you know, you're talking to other athletic directors, you're talking to coaches, you're talking to our bus garage, who, by the way, is fantastic. I could go on about Carly all day. Talking to our maintenance people about getting fields ready. You know, that's something we don't have to worry about in the winter, is getting a gym ready. So our maintenance crew, the time and energy they put into the fields.
And our very own Keith Sherman puts a lot of time in too.
Yeah. So it takes the spring takes so many people to get all the events to go off. Then once they do go off, because they usually start a little earlier, spring isn't as bad for me as late nights. Like winter's the late nights. You know, it's just because of the times they start. But the spring is just constant chaos from 7 a.m. until the games start.
Explain to our viewers, Tony, now, because it used to be in the case if there was no school, there was no game. But this year, on occasion, there was no school and we had game basically because of cold weather in the morning. It was better in the afternoon and evening. Explain, is that always in the policy, or because of the extreme cold, we kind of made an exception?
Yeah, I think you just got to kind of play it by ear. If we're not having a ton of cancellations, or we didn't already have prior cancellations, you know, we're always going to err on the side of caution. You know, and that's why if we're canceled because of snow and travel, we don't want kids, coaches traveling to the gyms for practice. Cold is a different story. That's because of walkers, you know, for school, you know, getting to school during the day, where if they're just driving here and getting on a bus, they're not dealing with the cold temperatures. So that's why we kind of play that one by ear, and that's, every school district is a little different on that. Most, I would say, you know, 75% of the schools are kind of in the same boat we are. If there's been a lot of cancellations and, you know, you're struggling to get games in, then cold days will allow them to play.
Yeah, because just think if you had to reschedule those,
Yeah.
I think you'd be running out of days
Yes.
to try to
Well,
fit it in.
and again, it's the stress that it puts on all the support staff, you know, our transportation, you know, trying to get bus drivers, and we are extremely fortunate with
Yeah,
the
we
team
are.
we have. They take on many trips when they don't want to, but if you start stacking trips on trips, it's just hard to get enough drivers to cover all those.
That's another thing, like our viewers to hear too. Yeah, the other team can agree to reschedule on this day, but now you got to make sure the buses, you got to
Yeah.
make sure officials, and all.
Well, and
all
that's-
that all comes into play.
And that's a lot with the spring. We deal with that especially. So, you know, so for example, softball, we're playing Lakeside today. They're supposed to be home. I've already talked to their AD. I said our head of maintenance is going down to check on the field. If for some reason it can't be playable, we might be able to switch it to Lakeside. Now he's got to see if his field's going to be playable. I got to see if we can get a bus. So I give our coaches a lot of credit also in the spring because of the flexibility, because it's constantly changing. You know, it would drive me nuts, like my personality, because I like to have a set schedule. If I was a coach and, you know, you constantly are switching between games and practice and then home and away and start time. So they do a great job of dealing with it. But we're all kind of in the same boat.
Maybe Jimmy Haslam can come build you a dome down there.
That would be nice.
Let's see. Oh, more in school sports play now. We've noticed that last year you had a wrestling match here. This year, did we have we went to Andover,
We went,
I
yeah,
think.
and we actually we're looking at having them come here again.
Yeah,
this
I
winter.
think that with the students especially went over extremely well. So you do think that'll continue on a
Yes.
yearly basis?
Yeah, and we're looking at possibly expanding that to even basketball. I think middle school it would be really neat because a lot of those kids, once they leave for the day, it's kind of hard getting back. So I think that would be really neat if we could do something like that to middle school also.
What about volleyball?
Yeah, volleyball. I mean, any of the sports that that were in the gym, I would love to try to at least once a year because I think it makes it neat. Because
I think that's good. I think it's good for the athletes to see the whole school there, to watch them. I really enjoyed that wrestling match that we did here last year. And something else that we loved this year was the girl-boy doubleheaders. I think we had 4 of them.
Yep, that
I
we're
think
having them
2
next year
away
too.
and 2 home. We're gonna have 4 more next year.
I know we're having St. John. We're doing a home and away, and Horizon came to us this year, so we're going to them next year. So I know 3 for sure at this point. So we definitely want to.
I think the fans enjoy it.
Yeah,
Do you find that convenient or not so much?
it's convenient for me, and it's because it helps kind of open up scheduling a little bit, with a couple days, especially when you have to start rescheduling games. It kind of helps because if we're playing them both on the same day, that frees up another day.
Do we lose a lot financially because you're paying one price to see 2 varsity games?
Not really. I think, especially because it's a local game, usually, with St. John especially. No, I mean I think it was better.
Yeah, we love those too. Nothing like doing 2 games in one night. We're also seeing a lot of 2-quarter JV games now. Is that due to lack of players?
It's girls basketball right now is somewhat in a crisis, I think, and
You mean getting players?
getting
to come
players, yeah, and I think a lot of that stems from on the girls' side. Basketball is probably the most physically demanding sport. I mean, now there is girls wrestling starting to come up, but the participation is not there yet, where it's really pulling away from basketball. I think a lot of girls are going towards JO volleyball, and so we're seeing it at the middle school level, especially a lot of combined 7th and 8th grade teams, which to me really I think hurts your program because it's cutting down playing time, and the more minutes they can get at that age, the more beneficial it is. So we want to make sure we keep having a 7th grade team and an 8th grade team, and then when those girls come up to high school, that keeps us having a JV team. And again, that's all development. So I know our coach, Nicole Grimmett, is doing a good job. She's got a youth camp.
My coach of the year.
Yeah, she's got a youth camp scheduled this spring or this summer. Just building relationships with those kids, because I think that's the secret sauce for girls basketball. If you can keep your numbers up compared to these schools that are struggling with numbers, she's gonna develop more players and be more competitive. So we didn't have to cancel anything this year, or because of our lack of numbers, it was just other schools. And you'd be surprised, some of the schools that are big schools, way bigger than us, can't field the JV team or can only play 2 quarters of JV. It's
Right. What Nicole did with our girls basketball team, Tony, I think they were 3-11, and then to reel off 9 straight wins, host a tournament game. I mean, that's not easy to do. The girls could have easily went south.
That's 100%. You're right. That's 100% on her.
You've coached.
Yes, and I told her that. I said I give her 90% of that credit for that turnaround, because the way she handled them, the way she stayed patient, because she was playing some younger players early and knew there was going to be some growing pains. She didn't panic. She didn't force them to get discouraged. That's hard as a coach. And I mean, I think back to myself. I don't know if I would have been able to be as patient as she was. But she brought those younger players along. They caught on, and then, I mean, like you just said, they
And
really
they did
tend
it
to-
with defense.
Yeah,
I think in every one of those games, because I was keeping track, they held their opponents under 40 points.
yeah. And I think what she did too, that really, by playing those younger girls more and more, it gave breathers to, the regulars, and that allowed us
Yes.
to. So early in the year, when we were losing some close games in the fourth quarter, we were winning those at the end of the year.
And she's got some good talent coming back. I mean, the Warner girls, as a junior, as you know, broke
Yeah.
the school record in threes, and then this Georgia girl coming up.
Georgia
she looks
girl,
like she's going to be a good one.
Allison Harmon, Liz
Yes.
Ham,
A good nucleus.
yeah,
A
for
very
sure.
good nucleus. Conneaut, along with every other school in the county except St. John, is in the Chagrin Valley Conference. I see that the NAC conference had an invite. Are you surprised nobody from the county took a bite?
No, they pretty much knew who they wanted. We just fell to Division 5 in football. So next year we're Division 5. So we're in the same size as PVE now, football wise, and usually football is what drives a lot of the conference stuff. But PV is big for the NAC, for the or one of the bigger schools in the NAC. So I wasn't shocked. I mean
But not all those schools have football, right?
no, and that's really why they're expanding, is to get more football schools in. So we knew they really wanted they were looking for similar size schools down towards Trumbull area.
Well, let's stay with football for a minute. Those games start at 7 o'clock on a Friday night.
Yep.
I hear from John Hutchison all the time. I got to get this in at a certain time. What would a 6:30 start look like?
I don't know. I mean that's a good question. I don't.
Or is that asking too much, do you think?
I don't know. To me, it's almost like it's a tradition thing. You
Yeah.
know, like high
7
school
o'clock
football has been 7
kicks off
o'clock.
at 5
Yeah,
o'clock.
I mean, I don't think it would be that big
Bad
of a deal.
idea.
No.
Right. You mentioned the officiating shortage, and that is definitely the case. If that continues, Tony, is there a possibility that they would return to a two-man team?
That's a possibility, and I think we talked about doing the double headers. I think you're going to see more of that. I know in soccer we're heading that way because soccer officials are really a
You
shortage.
mean to doubleheaders?
Yeah, so I know us in the Lake Division have really talked about, so Edgewood boys and Edgewood girls varsities will come here, we'll go there. So it's really for officiating. And same with, I know softball, they want us to look at next year possibly doing more doubleheaders even during the week. Instead of going to Edgewood one day and Edgewood coming to us one, is doing a doubleheader, just trying to, because they're spread so thin.
I think Lexi Zapatelli, our softball coach, who's another one that does an amazing job, told us when there's doubleheaders in softball that they're 5-inning games. I think that's what.
Yeah,
she
a lot of
says.
times, especially during the week. If it's a Saturday, the coaches can, agree to do 2 7-inning games. But if it's during the week, a lot of times, yeah, it's 5 innings.
You got a lot of good coaches.
We do, and that makes my job a lot easier. And we really have, especially over these last 2 years, not just the head coaches, but our assistant coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And we are very fortunate here in Conneaut to have,
Some volunteer, right?
some volunteer, but we're very fortunate to have the support of the school board and our superintendent to, add coaches if we need to. But I think they understand the value. Number one, just supervision of athletes, because our numbers are growing. In most of our sports, our numbers are really growing. So, the more supervision, the better, but it also means more instruction for the kids.
That's a good thing to hear. Our numbers are growing.
Yeah.
That is good, and all that talent coming from the middle school. That's just amazing. Do you ever see? I always ask this question too. Now we're going to basketball for a minute. A lot of people say yes, some people still say no. Do you ever see a shot clock coming in?
It's coming.
Okay, somebody said within 5 years I'll see it.
It's coming. It's more and more, talk
Like it or
about
don't dislike it.
What I think the problem is going to be with that is it's going to be the execution of it. So you can't just throw somebody at a scorer's table to run a shot
That's
clock.
what Becky said. That's going to take a lot of training.
So we already have a shortage of officials. I think you're going to need another official just to run that.
Oh boy.
Or else, could you imagine, if you've got a volunteer or just, somebody who's not really trained running that,
Right.
and the controversies that could cause in games, because the shot clock was messed up. So, I mean, we kind of see that in football a little bit with the play clock, but I mean, again, in Conneaut, we're lucky. We have people that we pay to do that. They're not officials, but they're trained in it. It's just, it's hard enough to get extra help, and then I think when you're talking about something that critical to the game, it would almost have to be another official.
You see it coming.
Yes, I see it
How
coming.
early do you see it coming? Will I still be alive?
I think so. Yes.
good.
Yes, you're in good health. So yeah.
Let's go to wrestling now for a minute. Now, the wrestling matches that we've been to, the crowd the attendance is good, especially if you have 3 teams in here. Or the middle school sometimes comes here and wrestles too. What's your thoughts on 3 teams versus dual meets nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, whatever we can do, and it's
To eliminate some of the forfeits.
yeah. So wrestling has been one of the ones where I played basketball, so I wasn't around wrestling. I've really grown to enjoy wrestling.
It's interesting.
Well, you just see how hard the coaches and the athletes work, and then it's such a physically and mentally demanding sport. So I've had to learn a lot, as far as how the points work, and wrestling coaches don't want their wrestlers wrestling the same kids over and over. So that's why they go to a lot of these tournaments. Because like you said, I would love to have more, just home matches where we bring 2 or 3 teams in just because of the crowd support. But it's hard because they're only allowed so many points throughout the year. But I know, just talking with Coach Sherman, we're working on at least getting, 4 to 5 home matches a year, but it's just such a benefit for them to travel around and go to all these different tournaments and wrestle different kids and different styles, and so that's where wrestling's a little bit, more different of an animal.
And Conneaut's had some good wrestlers,
Yeah.
not just in the last few years. School history
Historically, yeah.
shows a lot of good
Yeah.
wrestlers here.
Yeah.
So I think that's catching on big time. Now, you said you played basketball. Did you play any other sports?
Baseball,
Baseball.
football for a little bit.
And you did all your playing with the Harbor Mariners.
Correct.
And that's, I'm not giving your age away, but what, 25, 30 years ago at least?
Yeah, I graduated in 1997.
Let's just stick with basketball. So when you played basketball 25, 30 years ago, then, and you see it being played today, how is it? You always hear the game has changed. Has the game changed, or have the players and coaches changed it?
I think the players have really coached it. I mean, you're seeing it. It starts at a professional level. I mean, you look at somebody like a Steph Curry with the 3-point line. I mean, it just keeps expanding the defense because these guys are getting so good at shooting threes further and further away. Well,
Even big guys.
yeah, and the further they can make them, the further the defense has to spread out. So it really opens the floor up more. So, that's where I've seen the biggest change, is just the length of the 3-point shot, people that can make them. I mean, you look at our girls team this year. I mean, Kaiser and Warner can hit threes
And
3 or 4 feet behind the line,
Yeah.
with no problem. So that tends to, like I said, spread everything out more and usually creates more scoring.
Yeah, and the Harmon girl too.
Yeah.
She
yeah.
can hit the threes as well. Ask you some general questions now, Tony. What makes a successful athletic program just beyond just winning games?
for me, it's all about, just heard a guest speaker the other day at our CVC sportsmanship, and I thought he hit the nail on the head. Yes, we want our kids to be all American athletically. We want to see them succeed. Yes, we want to see them be all academic. But really, it's being all American at life. And the way he described it is the benefits of kids playing sports. They learn how to deal with failure, and they learn how to deal with rejection, and they learn how to handle success. So as they go along in life, when everybody's going to deal with ups and downs.
Every single person.
Whether it's personal, professional, you name it. And being a part of sports has really helped, it really prepares kids to deal with those as they grow up and become adults. I know it helped me, and personally, and then also working as a team with different people. It really has helped prepare me for.
How do you balance the pressure of winning with the goal of developing?
That's tough, and I think it's really tough at the middle school level more than anything, because we've talked about this. You're trying to develop players.
You mean because of their maturity?
Well, I think because it's middle school. High school, especially high school coaches, are going to be evaluated. Not so much by me, but public perception by their win-loss record. That's just the nature of it, and they all understand that. But middle school, you're trying to develop players, but you're also trying to develop a winning mindset. So, I think just watching our middle school coaches, how they handle that, they make sure that they're playing, everybody, and it really comes in practice. They do a phenomenal job in practice. But, when it comes time to that fourth quarter, if the game's on the line, you want to try to win the game, because I do believe that success breeds success. If they start winning at a younger age, it makes it, once they get a taste of it, they want to keep that going. So I think it's important at the high school level, but it's really critical, especially at the middle school level, and then the youth level also, is developing those players.
Mm-hmm. What role do you think high school athletes play in student development? You
mean with their peers?
Yes. No, with their peers.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I think it all goes hand in hand. If they tend to be, just naturally by, leaders, of the school, and I think that's where Conneaut right now we have a great group of kids. You go to other schools, and you see, kids. We have kids that support each other, and not just on the athletic fields, but whether it be the arts or you name it.
And a lot of that has to go to your coaches.
It really does.
They're the ones setting the example.
They are 100%. You're right. They set the example.
And their teachers.
Exactly. And so I think we're seeing, more and more kids showing up to games, and if they support each other in school, they're going to support each other after school. And I think we're seeing more and more of that.
You know what I hear, Bob, you hear too, when we interview these kids, they always use the word brotherhood.
Yeah.
I think that is fantastic.
It is. And
I never used to hear that years ago.
And I think it means more when their peers are there rooting them on. They know mom, dad, grandma, grandpa are going to be there, through thick and thin. But when their peers are there, I think that makes it extra special.
Mm-hmm. What's your opinion on the student athletes that play multiple sports? Now, I happen to like that. I think that's great. I don't know if the coaches of the particular sport like to see that, but...
No, we have to. And the coaches definitely want them playing multiple sports. And I'll never forget Coach Tressel was talking about an athlete who was signed for Ohio State, and he wasn't gonna play his high school basketball season. And Coach Tressel said, "No, I want you playing because you can still lift weights." He goes, "But you can't simulate being put in pressure situations. He said, I want you at the foul line with the game on the line, and there's just different, muscle movements. And, so if you're just constantly playing one sport, usually those athletes have a tendency to get injured more often because they're not developing other movements and muscles. And I just think it makes you more well-rounded. I mean, let's be honest, most of our kids are not going D1, or going to school for free for athletics. It's really about what it teaches them. We already talked about that, teamwork, learning to deal with failure, learning to deal with success. So to me, the more sports to play, the better.
Yeah,
activities in general, whether it's...
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Keeps them engaged all school year long.
Yep, and it really helps academically too.
It does. You mentioned the foul line, just brought me to something. We're talking about those NBAers hitting three-pointers. Put them at the foul line, they can't hit the shot.
I know. It's the most frustrating thing in the world.
I can't figure that out. Let's see here.
You see that at high school too. But if you come in, if you come in before practice, you're going to see everybody with a ball launching threes. You're not going to see anybody at the foul line working on their foul shots.
And sometimes that makes it. A lot of times it makes. Well, you coach the game. A lot of times that can make a difference.
Absolutely.
I think we kind of talked about this, but we'll see if you have anything to add to it. How can you promote game attendance in student cheering sections? I know you have these theme nights.
Yeah, we try to do that. I think ultimately success.
I think that's good.
When you start winning, just naturally more people are going to come. But I think, the theme nights. But I also think it goes to what you just said too. That brotherhood, supporting.
Yes.
The athletes going and supporting. The kids that are in plays or in choir. And supporting different things, and then I think you'll see it return in both directions, hopefully.
I think one of the neatest things I saw this year was on the stage with the ESPN table.
Yeah, that was neat.
With Kobe there. I thought that was just outstanding.
Well, and they're coming up with so many different ideas on their own. I mean, some of the stuff, that they see on TikTok and with other schools doing, then they want to try it. And so as long as they're not going overboard.
I've been given some false information about that stage crew. I thought they were picked by the National Honor Society. That is not the case, they tell me.
No.
Okay. Is there any credentials you need to be up there?
Not anymore. They used to.
It used to be.
Well, I think when the student population was way bigger, there wasn't enough room up there for everybody. Now, because, if you look at our student population, it has, over the last 30 years, has really gone down. So at this point, it's just more trying to get them up there. So usually what we try to do is if they're dressed in theme or participating in theme, they get in free. So they don't need to pay to get in. So that's been one of the things that's helped too, I think, get more students in there.
Mm-hmm. How do you keep the school community engaged in sports programs? I know you do a lot of it on Facebook.
Yeah,
announcing the games.
Yeah,
when they're being played.
Well, I think it's a team effort. I think, from my end, social media. It's just it's a big thing anymore. So that route. But I think the local media. And again, that's where we're fortunate because you don't see that as much anymore. And we have people like you covering the games. That makes it special to our athletes. So, even newspaper coverage isn't what it once was.
They don't have the reporters.
They don't have the reporters. Yeah, they don't have the bodies to do it. So, we're very fortunate in Conneaut because we have such a supportive community with, like I said, people like you and Bob doing this. And then, on my end, it's just really trying to pump out the information to the Star Beacon, to other news outlets who can't cover events, just trying to get the information out so they can still get it out there.
Mm-hmm. Well, you saw what it was like coming to play basketball at Garcia Gymnasium
Oh,
as
yeah.
Arbor Baron, right?
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite Conneaut traditions, school traditions that you like here?
That's a good question. So from a
I stumped him.
You did. Well, I'm thinking, so the stage crew is iconic. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
so that was one of my.
Everybody knows about it.
Everybody knows stage crew. Football, because I coach football, you know, the Thursday night dinners with, when you get the cheerleaders together,
What
the
a
football
job.
team, and now we have a night where the band comes together. Seeing all those kids together, to me, is special.
Best football booster club in the county.
It really is. They're
Nobody
phenomenal.
comes close.
Nope. No. And our athletic boosters have.
Them too, with Libby, yeah.
Well, Libby actually stepped down this year.
Oh, she did?
Yeah. Bob McBride, Paula Giz, Heidi Spiro, Grant Bennett,
So who's the president?
Paula Giz.
Oh, okay.
And then Bob McBride is the treasurer, and he's incredible.
Well, I'm sure he'll follow right in Libby's shoes because
Yeah.
she did a great job with that as well as I
She
said.
did. Yep.
the
She was.
downtown coaches club.
She definitely was. It was a big loss not having her. But again, this goes back to what I was talking about. You have to have a supportive community, and we have other parents ready to step in and take over.
Biggest challenge facing the athletic program today for you, or for the programs themselves?
Yeah.
Obviously, money's got to be one.
Money is you're constantly worrying about that, you know, because I mean, you're seeing it in the news, you know, schools struggling financially, and it's not, people think, you know, it's coaches' salaries, and coaches really don't get paid
Not
that
for
much.
what they do.
Not for their time, no. It's
And it's not just a football coach out there 10 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, it starts in June.
Right. It's the money that's used for all the equipment, the transportation costs, the officials' costs, you know, so there's financially, yes, that's definitely, you know, a big part of it. And again, where you're seeing other schools struggle, you know, and their facilities are going down, we're on the opposite end of that. And it goes back to community support, you know. Mr. Riccardi, with what he's doing there, this is going to allow us to host more events. And the Spark Track, so tomorrow night we're hosting the middle school all-county meet. So we have 7, you know, county schools coming.
What time is that?
4:30 is the field events, 5 o'clock is the running events start. So
Did you say middle school?
this is the middle school all-county, yep. So we're hosting that. So having these facilities now, we can host those events, which it generates funds. You know, being able to, you know, and I know a lot of people, and me personally, if it was strictly football, yes, grass all the way. You know, we have the nicest field around, grass. But what it opens up for us to do, you know, for other sports and potential income that we can generate, it's really a no-brainer. And what Mr. Riccardi is doing for us is a game changer. And it's across the board because it's going to benefit all the sports.
For the sports that charge to get into the games, does the home team have to give any of that to the visiting, or does it all stay
No.
with the home team?
Usually it's, I mean, unless it's extenuating circumstances where, you know,
Like the tournament game we had against Coventry.
so tournament games are a whole different animal. That's all, OSHA gives us a set amount to host the event. And basically it's enough to cover officials, game workers. They get all the profits from the gate on those. And that's why you'll see they can't honor passes at those events because we're not benefiting from that. But really, even then, like football, yes, we make a profit. Basketball, we make a little bit of a profit. But I mean, really the goal is just to break even, you know, cover your cost of officials and the workers. But if we can generate more, that's definitely going to benefit our programs, and that's really
So
the
you
goal.
get to keep the gate, and the visiting teams,
No.
they don't?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we know. I was going to say, any planned improvements to any of our facilities? We see that the stadium is going to have turf,
Yeah.
and that everything's on schedule for that to start for the football season. See, it's all dirt right now.
Yeah, they're actually ahead of schedule, which was nice because, and I think a lot of it has to do with because of our area, the soil being so sandy. they were able to get out there quicker because this time of year when it's raining constantly, if it's more of a clay based, it's just going to be a muddy mess. But because it drains so quick that they're able to get out there. So they actually were able to, initially the plan was to do the locker rooms first and then the turf, but the turf company was able to start so early. Like we were not expecting them to start in April. And initially when we were talking about this all, the plans 9-12 months ago, that was not the plan, but they were able to get a jump on it. So the field 100% will be done for sure before football, but I mean there's a good chance that's going to be done before July.
What a magnificent complex we have down
Yeah.
there. State-of-the-art tennis courts and track.
Well,
field.
and we've started, so we've got a real good group of, the whole Spark committee when it started years ago. It's gone in phases. There's been different people, who've been involved and have contributed to everything. What we're trying to do now is get more of coaches involved. I know our band department is involved in trying to get more events and starting more of the grassroots campaign. Yes, having the people like Mr. Riccardi and the AMEs, donate large sums. That's the lion's share of the work, but we were really trying to get more of a grassroots campaign, and it just generates more support then, and so we're actually planning a Spark 5K. So this will be July 25th. Our cross country coach and track coach Luke Stecky has been helping plan all this. Madison Mason, Liz Bernardini of the band department, Jason Dalton.
Oh, how exciting.
So what the plan is, it'll start at the track and then it'll finish with the runners running down the new turf field. So they'll run down, the finish line will be on the field. We're going to do it at night, so it'll be like under the lights where they would finish.
A little cooler. You said July 25th?
July 25th. The plan is to have food vendors there. I think potentially the band will perform, so it's
There
kind
you
of...
go, Bob. Food vendors for you. That sounds like a neat thing.
Yeah, it is. So we're working on that right now.
I know we're sports guys, but you mentioned the band. What numbers are up in the music department? I love music about as much as I love sports too, and I think that is tremendous.
Well, I
what a
think-
job Mesa and Austin Blair have done.
Oh, they have, and it goes back to kids today. They want to have fun, So the coaches, they can't just be like the old school coaches. You got to make it fun. You got to make it, and
Oh, definitely.
our directors, our coaches are doing such a good job of that,
Yeah, they are.
and that's why we're seeing this explosion in numbers.
People go to football. Some people go to football games for the band.
Well, and I know they're more excited about turf than anybody because
Yeah. Oh, I bet.
they're
Yeah,
not
I
going to be
didn't think-
trouncing around in mud.
I bet. I didn't even think about that. Okay, let's see here. What do we have for you? You got any new coaches for this school year? Oh, this would have been for Greg and Steve because I know our coaches, so we'll skip that one. Any big news story from the district and or league coming?
The league is always kind of a little bit in flux. Eastlake North, Willoughby South, Chardon, and Fairport are all coming back to the CVC. So that's changing a little bit.
And some are leaving too, right?
Yeah, we've got a couple that are leaving.
I think one of them is Lutheran.
Yeah, Lutheran West
Yeah.
is leaving. So we're going to be at 28. The one thing that we're really trying at our meetings is make it consistent across all sports, your division. So the league division would be the same teams for soccer, volleyball, basketball, baseball, you name it. Football is the only one that's a different animal because the bylaws are written where because it's Friday night and travel's not so much of a concern because there's no school the next day. They're trying to align it more by size to make it more fair because, so for example, right now, for the Lake Division next year, it'll be us, Jefferson, Edgewood, Geneva, Lakeside, Madison, but then we'll have Eastlake North with us. So that'll be for every sport, which makes it more, it makes rivalries better, I think, and just having more local games, it helps with the gate, it helps, with crowds. So I know that's really the thing that we've been discussing the most is.
That almost sounded like the old NEC.
It really
Except for
is.
East Lake North.
Yeah.
I think Harvey would have been the
Yeah.
other one coming in.
Yeah, so it's just making it more consistent across the board.
What reward, Tony, do you get from being athletic director, administrator?
For me, it's seeing our coaches and our athletes, receive accolades, for all the time and effort they put in. That's the most rewarding for me. Like
The commitment.
the commitment, because seeing that rewarded, because I know what it was like as an athlete, the time put in. I know what it was like as a coach. So, for example, seeing Nicole be praised for, all of her hard work, to me, that's the most rewarding part of it, and going and seeing our kids succeed against, other schools. I mean, and really put Conneaut on a good light. I absolutely love Conneaut, and I know what a great community we have, and seeing when our kids succeed and our programs succeed, it's a win for the whole community.
How do you ensure fair funding for all your sports?
So, I mean, again, this is where we're fortunate is, I listen to some of these athletic directors and they talk about their budgets and this and that, and if our programs need it, our school district, gets it for within reason. I mean,
Right.
now it's obviously like a cross country is not going to need as much as a football program is going to need, and then the booster clubs, those are designed for your extras, so like when our cross country team or softball team does a fundraiser, it's not to buy softballs, it's not to buy, stuff for the, for the game to have. That's for them to be able to get, their hoodies or do their team dinners, and that's where our athletic boosters provide so much to our programs. So basically, to answer your question, if a program needs it to function, the district's going to buy it, but if it's for their extras, or that's where the athletic boosters comes into play. So for example, the baseball team, they need a new pitching machine. Now that's not critical for them having a team, but it's one of those extras that's going to benefit the program. So that's kind of where the athletic boosters then comes in, and they purchase that kind of stuff for the programs to better the programs.
For some of Conneaut's newest sports, like swimming, girls wrestling, and flag football, swimming is doing great. Now, what about the other two? How are they doing? Numbers-wise.
Flag footballs is good numbers-wise. Wrestling is still, and I just think it's the nature of the sport because it's such a, well, swimming is too, but, physically demanding sport. I know our coach, Jordan West, she is actually, her plan is to start developing, getting more younger girls involved. And that's the key, is starting them at the 3rd, 4th, 5th grade level. And that's what I keep telling these coaches. If you get these young kids around you, they're going to fall in love with you, and they're going to look forward to playing for, Coach West when they're in high school. They're going to look forward to playing for Coach Grimmett when they're in high school. So that's the key, is really start building those relationships when they're younger, and then those kids are going to look forward to playing for you someday and stick with it.
One of the Spartans' better wrestlers, Ethan Morrison, a few years back, I was talking with him. He said when he started, we had 4. I think he said there's like 19 today.
Yeah, and swimming's tough because they don't practice here. It's in the
Spire,
winter.
right?
Yeah, so they have to travel to Spire. It's the winter. So I really give a ton of credit to our coaches, Josh Morrison and Teresa Morrison, for what they've done and again, it's challenging, it's competitive, but they also make it very fun, and rewarding for the kids. And to be able to keep the numbers up that way when you're traveling every night to Geneva for practice, that's impressive, you know.
Leadership philosophy, what is yours?
I think I try to be very honest, very supportive of our coaches. Really try to lead by example. You know, they know that I'm vested. You know that I'm going to put the time in, the effort, the energy. They know I care about them. So
You get involved quite a bit with our coaches, don't
Yeah,
you?
yeah.
Even as the season's going on?
yeah, and a lot of times it's just to, you know, like I said, I know the frustrations. So it could just be a text after a game. Hey, hang in there. You're doing good things. And I'm really just there for them. You know, I try to be there for them. Now, if there's something I see that needs, corrected or fixed, yeah, I try to get in. But for me, really, it's just about being there and leading by
And
example.
you're always there, too. What is your vision for the relationship between academics and athletics?
To me, it goes hand in hand. You know, I mean, and I always try to tell my players that if you're lazy in the classroom,
You're going to be
you're
lazy.
going to be lazy on the athletic field. You know, you can't just. But I think it's a two-way street. I mean, obviously you have to have good grades to participate, and so I think a lot of our kids, sports is what keeps them on the right track because they want to.
Most definitely.
Yes. So, a lot of people say, well, get rid of sports if you're struggling financially. I don't think they really realize the effect that would have on attendance and academics also.
How do you prioritize spending when scheduling, equipment, and facility needs conflict? Did I read that right? How do you prioritize spending when scheduling, equipment, and facility
Yeah.
needs conflict?
So it comes down to needs and wants. So if we're getting down to a crunch financially, okay, what do we need to be able to have the sports? And then the wants, yeah, every coach, every athlete wants the latest and greatest uniform, but if
No, who wouldn't?
yeah, so you really have to, and I was there. I mean, so I understand that, but yeah, it really just comes down to, okay, what do we need to have this go off, and we go from there.
What do you look for when hiring a coach, and how do you support their development?
Number one thing I look for is passion. If they love the sport, if they love coaching, if they love teaching, they're gonna end up being good coaches. You got to have that passion. That is the first thing I look for. With them, and then also the ability to develop relationships with kids, because that's just the nature of the kids we're dealing with these days. Is you have to be able to build relationships with them. There was a speaker the other day, John Carroll's head football coach, was talking about Gen Zers.
Here?
Yeah, that was at a conference I was at, and he said, kids today, because their whole life has been, it's on screens, it's on social media, they actually crave interpersonal relationships. So if you can develop those relationships with those kids, they're going to do anything for you. And I think you see that with our programs. That's why our numbers are going up so much, because our coaches care and they take the time and they build the relationships with these kids. But the most important thing to me, it's not forced. They want to. And that's what I look forward to. That aspect of it, and then are you willing to put the time in? Because nobody is getting rich by coaching. I mean, you're actually taking a pay cut because you could probably do another part-time job. So you have to love it, and that's what I look to the most.
Yeah. And people just look at it, well, they're only there on game day. No, they're not just
Yes.
there on game day. There's so much more to
Yeah.
it.
And that's why I try to support them as much as I can. if they need something, whether it's materialistic or just a vent or advice. And that's why I really try to promote them and their programs as much as I can.
Now, if there was ever conflict between a coach and an athlete, or coach and a parent, do you let the coach try to handle that and stay out of it unless they ask you to? Is that how that works?
So there should be a chain of command, when it comes to that. I mean, and there's different topics, If it's something like playing time, that's where the player needs to communicate with the coach. It has to start there. The coach and player have to communicate. If that doesn't solve the problem, then, or if a parent has a complaint about that, the parent needs to talk to the coach first. And then if they can't come to an agreement, or then usually I'll sit down with them. But when it comes to playing time,
that has to be earned, right?
it has to be earned. And I think a lot of times parents, obviously are going to be, side on the side of their kids. I don't think they completely understand a lot of times the sport or the strategy involved or what goes on behind closed doors at practice. You always hear people say, "Oh, they play favorites." I used to tell people, "Yeah, I play favorites. My favorites are the ones who have great attitude, show up to practice every day." Those are my favorites. It has nothing to do with your name.
They're not 9, 10, 11 years old anymore.
No, and the coaches want to win, so they're going to play, the ones who they feel are giving themselves the best chance of wins, and the ones who are doing the right things, not on game day also. So there's a lot of factors that go into it, and that's why that's why you don't see a long line of people wanting to be head coaches either, because
Right.
you're dealing with a lot.
Right. No cut policies. We don't have that, do we? We still cut players.
We do in most sports.
That's got to be a tough thing for a coach to do.
That's the one thing that never got
sure
easier.
it was tough for
It
you.
never got easier. You learn how to manage game better. You learn, as a coach, that never gets any easier. It actually gets harder every year because you develop relationships with these kids, and yeah, it gets tough. But from a coach though, you got to juggle. Okay, if I keep, let's use baseball for example. If I keep 18 kids on the varsity team, well, I didn't cut them. I'm trying to be nice by not cutting them, but now they're not playing as much or playing at all. Now they're getting frustrated. Their parents, understandably, are, getting upset that their son or daughter's not playing, and so it kind of causes some more hard feelings and problems in the long run instead of just, kind of making it quick and getting it over with.
Fundraising, as we say, the athletic department and other departments, I'm sure, need money as well. Best fundraiser you think we have here in Condit? I know for the sports program, you started the Spartan Fest.
Yeah, that's been
We've had
great.
2 years.
Yep.
I know the football team does these discount cards. That's a good fundraiser for them.
Yeah, they do discount. They do a golf outing. I know the downtowners does. It's good. Everybody's. I don't know if there's one that's necessarily better. Obviously you're going to have some that are more profitable. I think it's a lot of times what is best for your program and kids, because some sports only have 10 kids, where your football has 60 kids. So
To your knowledge, do all our sports teams have at least one fundraiser? Do you know that?
yes, yeah. If they want to do buy any of the extras or are, and again that's more work that goes on a coach's plate, because that's the stuff as a coach that you get sick of doing.
Mm-hmm.
If it was just being on a basketball court and coaching kids, I would never want to quit. But it's when you got to deal with the fundraising and all the outside stuff. It wears on you over time.
Just a couple more for you, Tony, but before I do that, I want to say at the ACBF banquet, when you got up to talk, I loved it. Carly Cray must get all her talent from her mother.
Well, that's the fun, and we do have to get those guys here together because
Yes, I want to badly.
Well,
And Sparkplug from St. John.
Yes.
He's retiring.
yeah, he's retiring.
Yeah, he told me.
We all have to, it's kind of neat, as a head coach, you're in a fraternity, so I became good friends with other head coaches because even your assistant coaches don't necessarily know what you deal with as a head coach all the time.
Greg, I just
Oh,
kidding.
Greg, so
I
as
get it.
athletic directors, we know what we're all dealing with, and so, it kind of makes it fun, but we're also, yes, we want to beat Edgewood and Jefferson and everything, but if we're not the ones winning, we're all Asheville County,
Right.
and Asheville County kind of gets looked down on by others, so if whether it's Conneaut or Edgewood or Jefferson, whoever is making, bringing attention to Asheville County, it's a good thing. So we like to mess with each other, but we definitely support each other.
Is Steve the longest tenured in the county, or is it Sparkplug? That's close, isn't it?
It's close. I know Nick has been coaching forever. I'm not sure when he took over as athletic director. I would say he's probably the longest.
Nick.
Yeah, Nick.
Okay. Yeah, he's a good guy. He said he's going to stay on his coaching though.
Yeah,
At the
yep.
ACBF.
Yep.
Just a couple more for you here. When it comes to scheduling non-conference games, is that getting more difficult as the years go on?
Actually, I think it's
Or is it easier?
being part of a big conference like the CBC makes it a little easier, and all the relationships we've built with the PA schools over the years. So for us, non-conference isn't that difficult because I know I can, go across the border with Girard and Northwestern and Fairview. We've developed good relationships with
That's
them.
what Joe Taylor told us. Our relationships with those
Yeah.
schools were good.
And we're all pretty similar, for the most part. But then, you've got these other CVC schools, so they may not be in our division, but I'm around these athletic directors all the time, and we build relationships with them. So, I think it's a lot easier, to get non-conference games than it was at one point.
Isn't it the largest conference now in Ohio?
As far as I know, yeah, it's.
Have you ever made a decision that was difficult to make in your 2 years? Have you ever had to make a decision that you thought was difficult?
Oh yeah, I mean, usually it's when it comes to student discipline. I mean, because you care about the kids, and I love all of our athletes, and I know how important sports are to them, but it's also important for them to learn. You got to do the right things. It's just like being a parent. You don't want to discipline your kids. It's never fun doing that. So that, for me, is always...
That's how they learn.
It's how they learn. And ultimately, that's our business, is education. And so whether we're teaching them a life lesson or we're teaching them how to shoot a free throw, but then you see the kids later on who come back and say, I'm glad you were, whether I was a coach or I'm glad you did that. Even though it was hard to take at the time, it helped me grow. So anytime it's dealing with punishing a student, to me is the hardest.
Because you feel bad about
You
it.
feel bad.
Yeah.
And the
That's what
coaches
you
do
gotta
too. But you got to do it.
Yeah. My final question for you, Tony, I want you to think about what your greatest strength is as an AD, and if that greatest strength is what keeps you motivated.
Yeah, I think my greatest strength is just my passion for, our sports programs and in Conneaut school and Conneaut community. I think 100%. I want to see us be the best. And there's that competitive side. I'm good friends with Steve and Greg, but I want Conneaut to be better than Jefferson and Edgewood, so, and I want our kids to, and our coaches to experience that. So that's what motivates me every day, is to see them put on the pedestal.
Well, another strength of yours is I think you treat us well too. You ask us every time we're at a game, Is there anything I can get you, or
Well, I-
stuff, and
It all goes, and that's the thing.
you get my rosters for me?
It all goes hand in hand. It's everybody plays a role, whether it's the local media, our bus garage, our maintenance, and I think that's probably my greatest strength is
Working together.
I understand that it's not just me and the coaches and the players. Like in order to make all this work and to be successful, it takes an army of people, and the people that we have here in Conneaut that I can count on and lean on is incredible.
Tony, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. I thought it was very good. Long, but good.
Anytime, it's fun.
Probably would have been longer if the other two were here too.
Well, we're gonna roast them when they come on.
Yeah, let's do that. Well, we
Yes.
got to try to get them
I'll
on.
pump you some inside questions that you can ask them. We'll set them up.
Okay, because I was going to tell Steve that, what I told you about. What'd you think of Tony's comment at the SCBF?
Oh, yeah, I already heard about it.
So thanks again for your time.
Thank you.
Athletic Administrator here from Conneaut High School, Tony Pasanen, on today's show.